happening, people? I'm here. I'm here now. First live video on my channel with Andrew. Shout out Andrew coming on the channel as well. We're gonna talk at Chelsea, talk up, the vibes, content, funny, laughs, all that good stuff. I've got things planned for the show as well. So some talking points. But definitely the first thing to do, is hit that subscribe button. I just joined literally 2 days ago. So subscribe to man, subscribe to Andrew's. His links in the description below. Shout out Andrew as well. And on Twitter as well, you'll be able to find him. So let's run it out, man. But brand new to the channel, so you're going to see me more often. I'll be streaming probably once or twice a week. I'll try and do some watch-alongs as well as the channel starts to grow. And try and get more guests on. We've got a few guests coming later on in the show as well, hopefully. So we'll have 3-4 of us on to talk up Chelsea. But, Angie, what are you telling me?
Yeah, I'm okay. It's been a strange few weeks. So a couple of weeks we've been winning, so not need to moan and complain. So it's been a bit weird. Not felt like that for a while, but excited. Your new channel. You know what I mean? New channel, new stuff. Should have done this ages ago, man. People have been asking for it. So,
I know, but life and job, you know how it gets. But hopefully,
that's true.
Exactly. Hopefully, me and Andrew can jump on more often. You'll see us on his things, or he does the thing as well. But get straight into it, and let's start with how good have our past few results been? So the reason why I thought this question was interesting is because Angie knows we were in terrible form in the last 2 years. When I say terrible, I mean like we've been 10th, 12th, averaging about 11th, all this nonsense, right? And this is going to be a good topic today, Angie. I think we're going to talk well on this topic because we have similar views on how it works. Like we're both kind of ground in terms of we're not like completely blind faith, but at the same time, we do call it out. So you probably more than me, to be fair. And the past few results have obviously been good in terms of, I think we've won our last 2 Premier League games back to back for the first time since October. We've now won the FA Cup game. We've now got a Carabao Cup semi-final away to Middlesbrough, I think on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So what are you saying after these past 3 results? Are you saying like the results matter the most? Or are you saying that you haven't been too happy? What do you think? Because obviously leading on, we've got other questions asked about Pot. So what do you think so far?
I'm all about the results guy first, but performance always comes second. So if we're getting 3 points, those will always come. I'll take them and snatch them. Or no matter if I'm down where I am right now, we're in a title race or something like that. Points will always matter to me before performance. Now, you want to talk about the performance afterwards? That's absolutely fine. We can do all that. But it won't be. I'm not one of these guys that all my team has to be playing lovely football all the time. It's all the result that's matter because that's the Tottenham way. I don't want to be the Tottenham way. As long as we're playing lovely football, it doesn't matter. We've won trophies where we've played absolutely crap in finals and we still won them. It doesn't matter. You win at all costs. And I believe when you start winning things, the performance come in a bit later and stuff like that. So, and even during some of these games, maybe not the Palace game overall. Or maybe the first half we performed well, but the second half we were dead. And like for about an hour at Luton, we were okay-ish. You know what I mean? We were in control, and then we sort of And like yesterday, first half.
You know what? On that, Angie, what do you think that's down to? Because we both watched the game.
Yeah.
Shout out everyone in the chat as well. Appreciate 5 people in here, Mac. That's actually quite sick already. But we were winning that game comfortably. Palmer's quite clinical with his chances. Like, we're kind of controlling the game. I don't think Luton had much shots on target, which is obviously quite interesting. And why do you think we capitulated? Is it as simple as we've got no experience and there's no one on the pitch that's over 25 to tell these men not? Is it the manager's poor management of subs? I mean, what he's telling them half time? Or is it simply that mentality of the club? Like, they feel like they're in temps, so they're playing like it. Why did we capitulate so hard? Because it's hard to explain how it was 75th minute was fine. And then all of a sudden now, they're creating. So what do you think that's down to?
I think it's a mixture of a few things. I think it's the team's mental fragile state of anything that goes against them. They immediately start. They they immediately draw back, and then they're looking around for anyone to step up and lead them. And then I believe it's the manager sometimes, although I think the changes against Luton really harmed us, whereas like changes yesterday actually were pretty helpful.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, I think you can take stuff from different columns like that and add it into it. It's we've seen over the last 2 seasons that any adversity this team faces, no matter who the players were, the old players last season or the old squad last season and the squad this season, they go down even with like so-called leaders in the team or experienced players like Thiago Silva, Sterling, and other players like that. Their heads will drop. That's something that can be coached in, but when it's a collective, then everyone seems to just panic a lot like that. You could see it from about the Luton game, about the 78th minute onwards. They battered us in terms of the chances they had. Petrovic made that great save. They hit the bar twice. They had multiple chances and stuff like that. But I think we've seen that they just don't like it. Anything that, even when we're winning, sometimes, like even against Luton when we're winning, their heads will drop, which is very weird. But hopefully it's something that's a learning phase, and they'll get over that. Hopefully, you know.
Yeah, man. What are you saying, Coach? Love for joining.
Yes. Guys, I'm just running around the city, not gonna lie. You know, you do the returns after Christmas, people get you the shit that you don't want. You're like, all right, I gotta take this stuff back.
It's not by force. Don't keep it just for the sake of it. No.
No. So I'm just doing a little bit of drop offs here, but I have to jump in same way because man's doing his first streaming thing. You know, you can't just let the man just not be doing his stream with his people them around him. So I'm here. You know,
come on.
Everything good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. We're just touching on, because obviously you're similar to us into the ground level how we feel about Chelsea right now. We're not too optimistic. Same time, we can call it out when it needs to be called out. What are the main reasons quickly on this question below? Like the Luton game, for example, kind of like encapsulate the point of how good has the results been? Because against Luton, for example, 3-0 up, clinical finishes. No, they're not really doing too much, and then we just capitulate in 50. Why is that? Why the lot? Is that really personnel age? Is it management?
Yeah, I really think that this comes down to the age of the squad. You know, like the details that you need to focus on at the end of games and stuff like that are not embedded in these younger players. They don't know how to manage manage results when they haven't done it before. So that's why when you have games like that and you see somebody come off the bench that is a senior player and whatnot and has been through many wars, like that's the difference, right? Like, and we just don't have anyone that's a cool head that comes onto the pitch that can say, okay, let's just keep this popping about here. Let's just move the ball around a bit. Let's, keep it ticking over. It's one way to play and one way only. And, many people like to say that comes down to management. No, these are fine details that it takes know-how to understand how to see out matches. And we just don't have that yet. I don't think that we have a squad of players that know how to see out matches. If you look at all the players that we have in the squad, the guys that we're depending on, the spine of this team right now, excluding Thiago Silva, of course, very few of those players have like real experience. Like I'm talking about I played like 150 matches in the Premier League, or I played, even 100 matches professionally. You're like Cole Palmer's played a lot of football.
A lot of young players.
Like Caicedo has not played a lot of professional football. Enzo the same. These are all guys that we're depending on to see us through matches right now. They just don't have the experience right now. Quality players, no doubt about it. Quality players, but in terms of like experience and the details that you have to be focused on to win matches, they're babies. They are babies, man. So that's kind of how I treat it. And I'm like, no, we just got to be patient with these guys and hope that we have the manager in place that can sort of like coax those performances out of them, that when we get into those situations they know what to do. But it's just not right now. Like we're and even beyond that, like you have to know the tendencies of the players on the pitch with you, right? So we're 4 months into this thing right now. 4 months, really, when you think about it. You can say that, we started it last year when we brought in Enzo and all those guys, but truly the squad right now is
the whole the new players coming in. Yeah, we're not going to count.
But even like Caicedo coming in, Palmer coming in, these guys are building parts of this is like a big parts of the core, and Reece James in and out all the time. Like we don't have a real like squad semblance right now. There's 4 months of people still trying to get to know each other's tendencies and whatnot. And for me, I just don't see the need to be panicked when it hasn't come together in 4 months. Like this is supposed to be a marathon, not a sprint for me. So when I see people like this, all up
That's
in
true.
arms, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that they look so terrible." I'm like, "What do you expect? There's no leaders on the
Yeah,
pitch.
that's the thing I
There's
don't
no
like.
veterans."
Yeah, that's a good point you touched on there, coach. Yeah, why do people, Andrew? Why are they quick to always just blame the player? Why can't people like? There's obviously a certain degree to that. So if you've got players that obviously aren't at the level, you can see with your eyes. First 3 games in, yeah, they're not it. But people like Caicedo, you're quick to say, "Ah, he's rubbish." Doesn't, and then all of a sudden now he's had a few good games, and no one wants to speak on him. No one wants to say why are people like that, especially in our fan base. That's one thing. We're not as toxic as maybe others, but it's very like black and white. There's not a middle ground, is it? It's just like he's not good or he should be playing at a 10. At the end of the day, they're young players. So what do you think about that?
I think it's to do that his price tag and he's not from Cobham is a big part. If you see the praise that Gilchrist has got, which I think he's done fairly fine in his few appearances, but the overpraise and stuff like that. If Caicedo had come through Cobham, he'd be getting a lot less criticism. I believe he. I don't think criticism is bad. He can improve, but he's 21, 22, so he has got time.
Young, yeah.
The price tag is not his fault. That's not his fault. Do you know what I mean? That's just how much someone he's been bought for. The expectation. People often say a big price tag on a player without looking at a player. Sometimes they're going, "Yeah, he should be doing this, this, and this." What are you expecting from Caicedo? If you look at Caicedo, we expect him to pop up with a load of G&A. Because I'm not.
Boy.
I'm not expecting to pop up a load of G&A. Recently, I think it's been a bit hard for him. He's been left alone as a lone 6 in the middle, like he was yesterday. Whether Enzo or Gag is with him, either one they don't seem to really stick together at this point in time. And maybe we're not seeing the best of him because maybe he is better as an actual 6/8 moving forward and having someone like Lavia there. Do you know what I mean? So. It's that. It's the price, whether they are from the academy or not. They get a bit, they get from some fans to get a bit more leeway and stuff like that. I just think it's that, and it's also I sometimes struggle to understand. Everyone is always wants goals and assists and stuff like that, and nearly from every player, which I find really strange. So it's just,
they use that as a yardstick, to beat him with. It's like, wow.
Yeah. Obviously, what's he done? What's he done for you? It's like even last week against Luton, he's part of the second goal. A lovely pass out to Colwell, I think.
First touch.
Part of the second goal as well. He passed on, but then I was like, he didn't really have a good game. He was losing the ball a lot, wasn't passing forward. It's like that's factually untrue. He hardly lost any of his he didn't hardly any misplaced passes and stuff like that. But I'm not gonna. But then again, I'm going to praise him for having a very good game, but I'm not going to overpraise him because I think he himself, the way he played at Brighton, should be having a good game against a team like Luton. Yeah, right? In all respect,
yeah,
right?
There's a level.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not you perform decent for one game and then Luton you get a pass and you play well. That's the standard. The standard is every game minimum.
Yeah, exactly.
Expectancy,
so there's no real middle ground at the moment. So you either go overpraise or you go over critical and stuff like that. So, but that's for every player really, and I think it's just how much you cost and where someone sees you from, essentially, whether you're part of the academy or not, or they know Chelsea and stuff like that.
100%. And to touch on the next point, Coach, that I've got ready here is how much of it is Poch's fault. How much of this we're not seeing much improvement in the league is on him. Or how much do you think is on the players as being young, like you alluded to earlier? You obviously believe that the age is a massive factor, probably more so than others. So how much are you putting on Poch for you? This playing style hasn't really, I could put evolved, really, has it? It's been good, but it hasn't been like you can see clear signs of things. So what do you think that's down to? Is that Poch or what?
Sorry, you guys there?
Yeah,
can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, I was just like I said, I'm still returning some stuff. So,
Yeah, man.
but yeah, no, like I think Andrew, you touched on some important things there, like in terms of how the fan base looks at players, and I think that a lot of the times what we have is just this onslaught of polarization. So when somebody has a great game, you hear, "Oh man, this is why we signed him. Oh, look how incredible he is." And then when somebody has a bad game, which is customary, it's the other side of the polarization that comes back and says, "See, why did we sign this guy? This, that, and the other." So, especially on social media, man, like when you get that stuff on social media, you lose you kind of like lose the real context of who is what and who's doing what. You know what I mean? So, I find that like I try to stay neutral on these things. Like I understand that these are young players and they struggle with consistency. And I'm willing to give every player at least a year and a half before I really start saying like this guy's is rubbish. But for the players that we paid a premium for, like I'm talking about, upwards of 100 million and above, I'm of the belief that those players have to be the sort of like they define what winning and losing is for this team for us because they're the ones that we've invested the most in. So I expect 6 out of 7, 7 out of 8 games out of 10, they have to be top level performers. And, obviously it takes some time to get your feet underneath you, new club and whatnot, new environment, new way of doing things football wise, all sorts of things. But I still like the ones like Enzo, Caicedo, who was another one? You can even say Mudryk and whatnot. Like I need these guys to be playing at a high level more often than not. Like it just, as much as I hate to admit it, they didn't choose their price tag, but it's attached to them, and there's going to be pressure with that. Like they're getting paid premium, and it's funny to me because like everyone's like railing on like Conor Gallagher, and like he's not my favorite player. I don't have an opinion on Conor Gallagher per se, but I'm just like, why are you hating on the guy when he's just working hard? Sorry, go ahead, man. Sorry, guys, one second.
Yeah, the perfect place for me to jump in there is what he's saying is like he's trying his hardest. So at the same time, we can't have a go at a guy for trying his hardest. I think where I differ a bit slightly to that is I don't think his level, Andrew, is like that high. I don't think him being this good is like anything to be raving about if I'm trying to push the team onto winning leagues eventually and pushing for top 4.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's like...
That's why. Sorry to interrupt you, Enzo. That's the reason why. That's the reason why they want to get rid of him because they're like, yes, he's doing good, and yes, he might be doing his thing. But at the end of the day, is he better than someone else we can bring in who also works as hard? And he's pure profit.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think that there's a massive percentage part of wanting to get rid of him that is pure profit because they want to spend big again either in January or the summer. Do you know what I mean? They want to spend like that. If they want Osimhen, they know they have to sell these pure profit players because it will just help FFP. And so that's why you're seeing like Maatsen now being linked to Borussia Dortmund with a loan and option to buy and stuff like that. You're seeing Gallagher constantly linked away, Chalobah constantly linked away. You're going to see Broha being linked away. But it's when it comes to like the players and the subject Conor Gallagher, you're actually right. I think Conor Gallagher would be a great squad piece. Now and again coming on, playing in the cup games, early round stuff like that. Okay, coming on and occasionally coming along in the last 15 minutes of each game, doing what he does when we're winning like 2-0 away, and we're really going to push
game.
Something like that.
Yeah.
My thing about him is I think you're seeing it the last few games. He's very much overplayed this season. Against Luton, he looked absolutely shattered against Luton.
Yeah, the second half.
And Poch, I thought the one performance I really don't get on Conor Gallagher about is the Wolves away one because Poch left him as a single pivot on a yellow card second half. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But you're right. It's kind of... See that, but someone says like the levels Conor Gallagher shouldn't be. It's like, Rivals go, he's been your best midfielder or best player this season. To me, that's not a positive. That's not a positive thing.
Definitely not a positive. Definitely not a positive.
And that's when I don't go on Gallagher. I go on the other players and go, and on the manager. Okay, you guys. That means you guys are playing rubbish. or not to the level you're supposed to be. Because Gallagher shouldn't be. Rival fans aren't even doing it for a joke. They actually think of that as well. That's the problem. Not even like bantering us. It's like, oh, he's been your best player and stuff like that. Yeah. It's like that's when I go on the manager and the other players going, you are not taking ownership of your own jobs and getting better. Like Enzo and Caicedo have had let's say average seasons if we balance it out. Being fair. I don't think they've been like some in the fan base like Enzo's been shit all season, which he hasn't, and stuff like that, and Caicedo and stuff like that. But we need, like I say, but Gallagher's the one where he'd be a great squad player. Stuff like that. He shouldn't really be starting for me. And the fact that the manager's now really the manager's. Basically, he's the manager's representative on the field now. If you think about it, when you think of Gallagher, you think of Poch and the other way around at Chelsea. You don't Poch shouldn't have that really. Right. That's a problem in itself.
You know what I think it is though, too. Though, like I think it has a lot to do with the reference for energy and effort on the pitch.
Yeah.
Like yesterday was another good example of that. Like I thought that the first half, everything was just so slow and lethargic against freaking Preston. And I think that when you're looking at like what Gallagher brings, he brings a tempo and an energy to the game that, may not be infectious, but it's certainly something that we need in the side. Like it's certainly something that we need. And if you're not getting that from the other players on the pitch, like if Enzo's not, well, I don't really anticipate Enzo will ever provide that. I just don't think he's that kind of player. But if, Caicedo's not being that player for us, not that he wasn't yesterday, but just not enough of it. And we're not.
I think he can do that. I've seen him do that at Brighton, Couch. Like,
no. I know that. I definitely know Caicedo can do that. And I'm not saying that he didn't do that yesterday. I'm just saying it wasn't at the level. And maybe it's just positionally. He's just not in that position to, influence up the pitch further, right?
Yeah, that probably doesn't help. Yeah, but being a lone six. Yeah.
But going back to like Gallagher, to me, has been always putting in the necessary effort to what it takes to win games. So for compete in the Premier League, really, and you don't see that all over the pitch. Like we're talking about just putting in the baseline, like energy and commitment and like just what you need, what it takes to win games, and you're just not seeing that enough. So that's why he's important.
But that's what's endearing and admirable to big chunks of every fan base. Doing the basics, which is what we're describing essentially, right? Energy and running. Really, that's why it's like I think Gilchrist has done well with last, like very like not like overboard, but the way he was praised when he came on, I think against Palace for like charging in and closing down.
Come on, man.
It was one of the biggest like ovations I've seen this season. It was like, okay, no, I understand that, but that's what endears you to some fans, and I don't think it's even an English Premier League thing. I think that's just around the world. People endear themselves that they will build up the things that footballers should be doing. You're being paid loads of money, so the least you can do is look like you care. You're energetic and you're running around, right? That's the least. That's the baseline.
That's all it is. Like I hear what Coach is saying in terms of Gallagher showing the required, like effort, and he's listening to the manager. He's listening to what he wants him to do, and he's doing his job essentially, right? Which is like what every man should be doing in their job, which is essentially doing their job. But I think the thing is it does highlight that Poch. Why is he relying on just a dog to do his work? He needs to get the more technical players also playing well. So Enzo and Caicedo,
definitely.
They might not have the how can I put it? The work rate in terms of like the running that he can do, but at the same time, their superiority in their technical ability should be able to get you through games also.
100%. And this is what I was saying before about that. Like I was saying that wins and losses are not dependent on Gallagher for me. The wins and losses for Chelsea are dependent on the money players, the Mudricks, the Jacksons, the Caicedos, the Enzos. If those guys aren't performing for us, you see what I'm saying? Like those are the guys that are the money players for me. So like when people are like, oh, we lost Gallagher, look, he's giving away the ball. I'm like, if we can't win with a Gallagher in the side, like if that's what we're worried about, then we got bigger problems because we have way more players that we depend on for wins and losses than Gallagher. You feel me though?
Agreed.
100%. That if people say we miss him, that's why we didn't win X game. That's a massive red flag. If
That's a massive, that's a massive.
Because
Like,
it's like,
that's on the
and then
coach and the
what you're
players.
basically saying is we just need runners to win Premier League titles. You can't just have runners. So,
Right.
Ford, what I want to ask you is, which leads us to the next question: what do you think our most important signing will need to be? Let's say January, for summer or this summer. Like we're seeing our midfield doesn't need a revamp. Do we need another defender, Thiago? So we're gonna leave. Like there's a lot of questions. Even though we spent so much money, and I'm hearing people talk about if we don't have Gallagher, we can't win the game. Does that tell me we need more signings then? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I'm gonna leave the obvious about a striker. I think we need a left back. So because obviously he never trusted Maatsen at left back. The Colwell thing just hasn't worked at all. He's not a left back. And Chilwell's injury prone, and there's too many question marks about Cucurella. So and I don't want Gusto playing left back. I want Gusto playing right back.
Even though he can do well.
He can, but he can. And I know we got an assist and everything like that yesterday on the left. That's absolutely fine. That was a very good cross and very good head from Bro. But I need the balance. Do you know what I mean? Because if he's not because I presume he's predominantly right-footed because he never really uses his left for much. So I just need that. People might say to me, "Oh yeah, but you go on about a goalkeeper." I'm okay with Petrovic at the moment. I'm just watching it. I'm doing game by game with Petrovic at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If he by the end of the season, I might have a different view, and he might have made a few mistakes. Going, okay, he's young. I can have him as a number 2, bring another experienced goalkeeper in because I don't really trust Sanchez as the number 1.
Nor do I. I don't really want to see him back in. And I know what you're saying. It's forward. Are you there? Can you hear me?
It's ads, actually. You don't want to be called forward no more for some reason.
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm here, man. How you man doing?
What you saying?
Nah, I'm good, man. First stream in that. Love for you. Oh, by the way, love for you, man, jumping on. I don't know if I've got you, man, descriptions in. But yeah, I appreciate it, man. So when we keep moving forward, I appreciate that. But what was I gonna say, man? Like in terms of the players we need to bring in, like Petrovic, even he comes in for a few games, and we're already saying Sanchez is meaty. That's not good. That's not good. If 3 games were going on, he's useless. We could upgrade on him. Why are we paying 20 million for him then, or 50 million for him? If Gallagher's missing and we're struggling, if Sanchez goes out for injury, and our backup goalkeeper is now our new goalkeeper, does that make sense?
No, I just think that again. I think that comes down to the polarization again. Like people that did not want Sanchez are very comfortable with saying, "Yeah, Petrovic is my number 1 right now." And
but would you say he's been better than Sanchez in terms of what you've seen?
I mean he hasn't really been.
I think I've been happy with him, but
I think he's been okay. But I don't think he's been like I've seen Sanchez play some decent football too. The things that I look for in a goalkeeper, especially in our setup, is distribution, and both of those guys have been dodgy this year. Like Petrovic, his distribution out to like the flanks and stuff like that has been awful. Like I'm talking about, he's clearing it out of bounds. When he's trying to find like Gusto, or he's trying to find Cole on the in those half spaces on the left or right. And when he's going long, which is what we've been doing the last little while, playing a little bit more direct. How many times have we turned over the ball the last 2-3 games when we go direct? And that's for a number of reasons. Obviously, we don't have a target man. Anyone can like just hold up the ball and bring it into play. But also, there's times when you're watching what's his face there, Broha. He's nowhere near where he's placing the ball, and like you just can't have that. I don't think that the goaltending situation is solved right now, but that would be less of an issue if we deal with what's happening in front of the goalkeeper in a more direct, in a more real, meaningful way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Forward, would you say left back, like Andrew's alluding to? I've heard that on the socials. Would you say that's priority over, let's say, pre-agreement for a striker, for example? As the most if you had to rank 3 positions, I'm gonna go striker 9, left back, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna go centre mid or CDM. Actually, that's me. I've got reasonings, but what would you say is like 3 priority positions?
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because obviously the word priority kind of specifies like 1 or maybe 2, but with us, like our squad is so imbalanced that we have a lot of priorities. Just means it's not a priority. It's just our situation is bad. I mean, plainly, but our situation is not great, despite spending $1 million, right, or certainly a lot of millions on this squad in the last couple of windows, right? So I agree. Obviously, striker again is the elephant in the room. It's something that we're crying out for. Left back, I also agree is a big issue because again, like it was already articulately put, Chilwell just can't be trusted with the injury record. Obviously, Maxim wasn't trusted, period, by this coach. We don't want to see Colwell or Gusto there long term. And obviously, Cucurella is the most recent big money signing to fulfill that position, and he's not. I don't think any Chelsea fans, really convinced that he's the guy moving forward that we can trust as a left back. So that obviously is an issue that we need to solve next summer. You mentioned DM, right? And DM's an interesting one because obviously we've made some very big money signings in that position of recent, right? And even going back to like Tuchel days, where obviously we knew that the likes of Rudiger, Jorginho, etc., were going, some experienced guys in the squad. We had talked about, for me, I looked at it as like, okay, we definitely need a whole new span, right? We need a new goalkeeper, we need a new centre back, we need a new DM, we need a creative outlet in midfield, whoever that main creator is going to be, and obviously we need a striker. And of those positions that we've signed in, which ones have we really rectified? I think out of those ones, I can only say that okay, we did sign a chief creator in Palmer, albeit very young. He's not maybe like a Madison or Szoboszlai in terms of like experience and proven ability at a top league level. But you know what? I was an advocate for him. I saw him do very good things at youth level and even in the glimpses that we saw at Man City. So I was happy with that signing, and he's gone on to do very, very well.
Very
Credit
well.
to him. Yeah. But other than that, obviously goalkeepers, I mean, again, we were happy to go with Kepa into this season, which for me was again just already just giving me super red flags with Poch and the board. Because for me, Kepa had done nothing to prove that he's ready to be number one for Chelsea. Again, he was usurped by Mendy, who was just a budget signing, and he came in, one of the Champions League looked far better than him. Then obviously he fell off, but again, granted, that's going to happen with a £16 million signing. We should actually expect that. And Kepa still didn't take the reins and say, yeah, I'm the guy. And then he got his opportunity to go Madrid. He off-pant there, cool. And now we're left with Sanchez, who was the backup goalkeeper at Brighton. I mean, I'm sorry, but that, again, even going into the season, I was not happy with that. And yes, Petrovic has come in and done, I think for me, well. But again, Couch is right. The ball playing ability from the back is not great. He's going to need to work on that a lot in the upcoming years. And for me, I think he's good enough to maybe be a backup, and that's okay. But again, we certainly need a number one centre back, a number one goalkeeper. Coming to centre back, of course, that's an issue in itself. Maybe that's even something that we can talk about later. But again, just to DM, which is what you mentioned earlier, I can see why you think we need a DM. I just want to see Lavia, see what he can bring.
Right.
I think it's hard to say that we need to go and sign the DM when we do have Lavia in the oven. And it's unfortunate we haven't seen him come out of the oven yet, with all of these injuries and whatnot, but he is there.
Do you know what the thing is? So it's cut you off, yeah. The reason why I can't say that is because we just mentioned the spine, and in their head, they've addressed it. You do realize that, right? In their head, they've gone, other than Nkunku, who they didn't sign, but they wanted to play that. In their head, I actually honestly believe they thought we've covered the spine for a few years. They've got the goalkeeper they wanted. They chose Sanchez. They wouldn't bring in Petrovic as number 2. They didn't want him as number 1. They chose the centre back, Sassi. Forced or not, they did it. And that's their right side of centre back sorted for them, right? And then they've chosen.
I can't say that.
I actually disagree on both so far. Just let me just say just because
you think
with the
goalkeeper. I'll ask you a question here based on that. You guys think we spent that money and they saw that as squad potential rather than starting?
Yes, with Disasi, I think Disasi was just okay. He's somebody that can be good for us, but not like he wasn't like that's our main guy. Like when we signed for Fofana for 80 odd million.
And to be honest, given what we paid for him, he's actually been decent. It's not like he was like a marquee signing. He was a stopgap solution.
He's very over criticized,
right?
He's over criticized, but he's not moving the needle, guys.
Well,
he's not gonna
commensurate on what he's paid, what we actually what he was actually purchased for. He's been all right. I don't see what.
But on a side note, though, everyone keeps forgetting about Disasi. He had no pre-season with us and was thrown in against Liverpool his very first game. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no continuity because of the Fofana injury.
Yeah, there's no continuity with the centre backs because Poch keeps picking different centre backs because we don't know when to play Thiago Silva or not. And even yesterday, when Thiago Silva deserved the rest, I know he scored, but there was no reason really to bring on Thiago Silva. We can't. Yep. This is the point, and I know Balaciano's been injured and stuff like that, but that was my whole point with we need a left back because I need Colwell to play centre back. Do you know what I mean? I need to see if he's good enough. Do you know what I mean? I need him to play. I need him to play centre back and forge partnerships because Thiago Silva's not going to be there for a long time.
100%.
You know what I mean? I need these guys. This is one of my biggest. Well, a lot of frustration with Poch. One of my biggest ones is this is a perfect year. With being out of Europe and not playing a lot of games, is to forge partnerships. I know injuries play a part before anyone says anything.
Yep.
But it's to forge the partnerships. And even at the back, everyone's going, why did my thing about Thiago Silva, 3 of those back 4 speak French. Do you know what I mean? It should be an easy communication. Do you know what I mean? Learn, be a few bits here and there and get through it. But he keeps changing. He keeps changing centre back.
I agree with that, but I wonder if he's
in and out.
But I wonder if he's sorry, Andrew. I just wonder if he's doing that because he doesn't see a partnership anywhere yet.
I know.
And I don't think that we found our center back yet. I had high hopes for Fofana. I think that injury's kind of like derailed hopes that he can be that sort of guy for us. I don't think we have our center backs. I don't like any of them. I don't like any of them not named Thiago Silva. I'm going to be real with you. I don't like any of them.
When I first heard we were looking for a new centre back, my initial thought was, why? But then when I deep it, right, they want to sell Chalobah, yeah? There's no decision whether Thiago's going to stay past the summer or not. And for Fofana, there's a big question mark over his fitness, right?
Injury record, yeah.
So now you're down to 3, right? You're down to this
Badiashile,
he's got picked up a couple of injuries this season. The Sassy, who we're not 100% sure of, and Colwell, who he keeps playing at left back. So now you can understand why they're going for a centre back now. Because they don't know how many they're going to have come the summer. Because we don't know. But the thing is, what I said before, it's building partnerships. It's like I want to see. This season would have been a great bet if you actually trusted Maxson at left back or asked for another left back or something like that. Put Cole in the centre and see if you can build partnership with someone. At least have a constant centre back there. Even the Sassy's been the most constant centre back pick there. Do you know?
Forward, you're going to say something. Forward, you're going to say something.
I mean, obviously, I did want to bring it back to the original point. Was that again, like Couches and obviously he said as well that we didn't really sign like a mainstay centre back into Sassy, like at least last summer, right? We obviously tried with Fofana, that hasn't worked. And again, even that's something I wasn't happy with because again, he's coming off a big injury himself. Hadn't done enough in terms of in the Leicester shirt for me to say that okay, he's definitely going to be a mainstay here. Like let him play another full season. And they even wanted to keep a hold of him, so I wasn't a fan of that signing at the time. And obviously, then with the goalkeeper, like. Again, I think we were happy with Kepa as a number 1, which again, for me is a red flag. And then we only brought in Sanchez as the replacement for him. So then once Kepa left, we were like, okay, let's promote Sanchez and see how that goes. And I haven't seen any top team be successful over a period of years, upgrading a number 2 goalkeeper to number 1. I've never seen it.
You know when we signed Sanchez, you know what they said in the restatement? We brought Sanchez to compete with Kepa. Now, if I'm a goalkeeper and I have to hear the words, I need to compete with Kepa, I have to look at myself and go, what do you mean? You should see me as better than Kepa.
But again, he was already should be looking at himself because he got dropped for Steele at Brighton. So
Brighton already. That's why I'm saying recruitment just being. We could talk to the council about the recruitment and the poor decisions, but at the end of the day, guys, it is literally one of the main reasons why we're in this position. 2 years ago, we was complaining about top 4. And that was our Arsenal situation where for a few years, since 2018, our club has slowly declined. And when we slowly declined, I'm not saying we didn't win the Champions League. What I'm saying is the consistency was starting to falter off. More finals were losing. The recruitment was poor. The ethos and the club was getting to a point where people make a different excuse for different reasons. And no one wanted to look at Abramovich. No one wanted to do that. And in hindsight now, in retrospect, we could say it wasn't that good. And the reason why I mention that is because we're in a similar position now, but at a brand new start, where it's like they could have, with all this money, just been a little bit more careful. No one's saying don't get Caicedo and Enzo and the Mudryks here and there, but get a spine or a squad where you have a certain age or certain experience bracket, and then you could plug in your young players here and there. But what we've ended up with is like some players like Sanchez, like Ford mentioned, who wasn't even first team players at Brighton. Now is our number 1. You got a man like Colwell, who hasn't shown much in his experience. You got a man like Fofana, who only played, according to my logic, I think about 20-something games. And you paid 8 million for him. So it's like, and then this issue here, which any of you man could jump into, our injuries are ridiculous. And this is why back to a point before about Poch's playing style. Me and Couch and Andrew touched on it. Can we give him a bit of slack? Because at the end of the day, we would not have this team we played against. For example, who we played last in the league, Luton. That wouldn't be our teams if we had a full team.
No, but
Let's be
Ches, I've got
So
someone said like, "Oh, we've got Lavia in the oven." I'm worried about this oven because most of our injuries are happening near that oven. They're not happening really on the pitch.
well,
You know
maybe
what I mean?
it's
So it's like
wrong food,
I'm worried.
man.
I'm worried. Are we like? Are we got a gas oven, but someone's trying to be electric, or it's the other way around, or something like that? Because
Air fryer.
yeah, I don't. Or is this a microwave they're using instead, or something like that? Because in Cuckoo's, I don't know. Some mixed reports about in Cuckoo. There's like whether he's out for weeks or he's going to be, or they rested him or something like that. But Lavia's the only way. Lavia obviously happened when he came onto the pitch, apparently, or something like that. But I'm just worried that most of our injuries have actually happened, or I think a bigger percentage-wise have happened off the pitch than actually on it. And then I don't know whether that's they can't adapt to Pochettino's training or something like that, or he's pushing them too hard or something like that.
I mean, it's difficult to even say because we were having these injury problems the last 2 seasons, even before Poch came in, that we were having these, and that was with a different medical staff as well.
Mostly though, some of those there was a bit more balance of like on the pitch and off the pitch. It seems to be that when we get a latest injury, it's never like in the game. I don't want injuries anyway, but it's never I could go like, oh, it's from that game or something like that. Like with the Nkuku one, it's not from the game. It's from I assume it's from training.
But have you man seen the Aaron Lennon documentary with Ferdinand?
No.
So basically,
not yet.
He basically talks about how like when Poch came in, he increased like the drills every week. They only had 1 day off instead of like 2. And I think what's happening is our players are struggling with the new regime because apparently he does these like mad tests during the week, and it might
Potter
be
gave him loads of days off even after defeats last season. Right? So
I know. I don't know. I'm just saying, man. But yeah, go on.
But what comes to that is if you remember Dele Alli's, obviously there's different issues Dele Alli on and off the field, but even he said like his like training methods at the end were not working and getting through, and that's where it's like, okay, so. Is Poch one of these coaches a bit like a Mourinho and a Conte who's just set in his ways? Do you know what I mean? And it works for a while. If you get it, it works, but only works for a while. But if you don't get it, you're going to struggle to adapt to it. Do you know what I mean? Moving forward, that's on the players to decide as well whether they can. But going back to the original point, it's like with the injuries and stuff like that. Listen, it does have to be looked into. The whole thing has to be looked into. Like Forward said, it's not just been this season we've gotten injuries. It's been. I mean, look at Fofana. Fofana's had 4 injuries when he's been with us. He's only been with us for like.
Would you say since
months.
the Champions League? I think it's been since the Champions League. Because I don't.
For me, it's the last 3 seasons we've had some like really bad like injury crisis kind of things, right? It's been ages. But just to say, right, just to say on this for me, like again, it's hard for us to comment as fans because none of us, I don't think, to my best of my knowledge, none of us are like have a degree in like sports science in terms of like how injuries have happened, but we can only speculate on the information that we receive, right? But just for me looking at it, like even with that Dele Alli comment, because it's something that I had a conversation with one of my friends about, like of recent, right? That when people talk about Poch, they talk about his trainer methods, he makes them work so hard and this and that, but they don't really talk about like his tactics or he's just ingenuitive coach that has these amazing ideas or whatever. Like they didn't really talk about him. Oh, he got Ericsson to do this that made him explode the assist numbers, or he got Dele Alli to do this. No, we just saw that they just had ability and they were able to shine, obviously, in that Tottenham team, which had a lot of good players. But then when you hear about, again, even though Arteta's in the mud right now for sure, you still hear his players talk about, oh, Arteta's got these amazing ideas and this and that. They don't talk about how hard he makes them work. For me, that's archaic kind of coaching tactics. And you talk about that from managers in the early 2000s and whatnot, but we're well into the 2020s at this point now, and I don't really want to be hearing about my coach making players work hard. We already know all these players work hard in this era of football.
Gallagher's the perfect player for him.
Exactly, but this is my point that we need more from this coach, because as much as we talk about because as much as we talk about we didn't sign this type of player or this type of profile, or we've gone too young with all these players across the board, which was a massive mistake. Despite all of that, the ability is still there with these players to play much better football and to be well up at the table, because again, the likes of Brighton, West Ham, Newcastle, with all of their injuries, Man U, freaking United, and how poor they've been this season. These guys should not be above us, regardless of injuries, age, tactic. Well, practice is
Well, yeah, I
improving,
mean,
why
there's got to be a
I'm upset
context
why
there,
we're
though.
here.
There's got to be
So
a
it needs to
context
be
there. Like, we can't just say that they can't be ahead of us. Like, we've had a whole host of injuries that
no,
nobody
but I'm saying they
anticipated.
all shouldn't be ahead of us based on that. And
Based
I
on
get there
what,
was
though?
obviously no, but based on the fact that there's the ability in this squad is there to play better football. And yes, we also again we will cut Poch some slack because of obviously injuries and everything. He didn't co-sign this entire squad, right? Of course. And obviously, it's not his fault when again Nico Jackson's missing big chances, Sterling's missing big chances,
Exactly.
right? So obviously, those allowances are there to be made. And we will watch 90-minute games, so we can obviously apply context to everything, 100%. But at the same time, I can still look at decisions Poch is making on a week-to-week basis and saying that that isn't good enough. Again, the fact that right now this season so far, we are the only team in the Premier League to never be behind at halftime in a game, never, and yet we have one of the worst second half records in the league, comfortably. That also comes down to the manager. Again, things like
And it
playing
also comes
Chilwell
down
left
to
wing at the start of the season.
like when you need to change the game, and you're bringing on new
Mhm.
bringing on players to change the game. We don't have a bench to do that. So, like I'm saying, okay, I'm not I'm not discrediting what you say. I think that what you're saying has a lot of validity and stuff like that. But I think that so much of what we do right now is just ignore the obvious when it comes to like evaluating what's happening this season. Like, that is a big piece. These injuries, the players that we were depending on to be the difference makers for us, have not been available. Have not been available. So when you couple that with the fact that like guys are coming in, haven't had a preseason, it takes them a couple weeks to get up to speed again, and then another guy goes out. Like, that's a very difficult way to manage a new team, a very young team, and like I don't think that we can take that lightly. Not only
No, we
that, but
can't.
then also, we're talking about like, okay, so we're unable to change the game. Like, Poch can't change the game. Change the game with what? With Matos? Like we don't have the players, right? Like, we don't have the players on the bench currently to
I would say
really
that
go
we've
in
still had a stronger bench at times in the likes of a Newcastle and a Brighton. And I do take your point, right? Because obviously the fitness of the squad is something that is out of the manager's hands in general, other than unless we actually agree that his training methods are why we get so many injuries, right?
maybe.
Again, it's a big thing because again, you look at the top of the table, the likes of Aston Villa, Arsenal until recently. These guys are up the table because they've had very few injuries over the season. Even Liverpool, other than Robertson, Thiago, who's always out. They've had all the guys fit. So of course, it's made a big effort to that. And I think for me, right, I looked at the season thinking maybe we should be around at the bare minimum 5th or 6th, right? And obviously with these injuries, I would probably say, if we were 7th or 8th, fair enough in it because of the injuries. But we've been 10th. There was a time when we were 12th. And I don't think that's at all acceptable. And that's me being very realistic, saying that this squad
I agree.
should be around 7th or 8th. So
I
again,
think
you have to
You
look
know
at the
what,
manager.
though? But and this is kind of where I kind of am in. Because if we can look at all these things and say that we should be here even with the injuries, like let's not forget where we're coming from. Last year we had pretty much the same situation, just a whole rash of injuries, and we were unable to like really cope with it, right? Then we come into the season, we have another whole rash of injuries, new system, new setup, and everything, and we're expected to hit the ground running right from the get-go because we have a couple of easy fixtures. I just don't think that's realistic when you're thinking about like
but
true
you know
squad
what the thing
building.
is though.
And when you look at teams like
Yeah.
Liverpool, you look at teams like Brighton and whatnot, they're already a settled side. Like, they already have people coming in for players that are going out injured. We didn't even have a settled side yet when we had those injuries. So
Can I just
when you're comparing, just let me finish with this. When you're
yeah.
comparing how we should be in comparison to other teams, remember that this is still the first cycle. This is the first incarnation of this particular project, and you're not gonna get the same results as a team that has been doing the same thing for like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, like Liverpool and like all these other teams. So that's kind of why I'm less inclined to say that this is all on Poch where we are, and more inclined to say this is just a circumstance we find ourselves in.
I hear that. So it's okay if I just jump back and just to reply to that, right? Because again, with a lot of what Couch said, I agree. And obviously, like, again, I'm not saying that it's all on Butch, and obviously you're not saying that it's all on the players. It's obviously, of course, a blend of different issues, including the board in
the
that.
middle, basically. Somewhere between the two.
Yeah, of course, it's always in the middle. But I'm just only here to just highlight some of the failings that I've seen in Poch, which is obviously long term why I'm not sure if he's the guy, right? I'm not saying that you believe he is the guy, but I'm just want to highlight some issues that I've seen because, again, for me, I still definitely stand firm on the fact that he should have had us higher, given the ability of the squad. And yes, I will take into effect, obviously, again, the caveats and the context that you've obviously put forward. But at the same time, I look at the start of the season, and I knew that this was going to be a tough season based on that all the players that we're bringing in, etc., etc. But I saw those fixtures on paper, and even how the games panned out, and I feel like that was a big opportunity to get some really good momentum to start the season off, and then we wouldn't be in this situation. Because obviously now you look at it, of course, with all these young players and the fact that they're at a big club, the badge is going to weigh heavy, and you've got us in 10th, and you've got legends of the club saying, "I don't recognize this guys," or the club's a joke and all of this stuff. So of course that pressure's going to be on you. But for me, that's why it was so important that those first few games you hit the ground running. And for me, I've seen a lot of tactical mistakes that I could have told you a mile off weren't going to work. Because again, I feel like we wasted a lot of games with things like Chilwell at left wing. That for me wasn't great. Some of the tactics, again, not to go too tactical on these things, but like all the things that we were praising in pre-season that were working, we didn't see implemented. We saw Nkunku get injured and he changed a lot of things just off the back of that, just to try and get a result against Liverpool. And fair enough, we got a draw and a pretty good performance, but then we didn't capitalize against West Ham. And then after that, we dropped silly points against the likes of Nottingham Forest. Bournemouth, we were in a bad way at the time. And it obviously goes on from there. So my point is just that Poch made a lot of mistakes even then before we start seeing things like Colwell left back consistently and other little things, right?
But that's
and
the
then
thing.
like Gallagher being forced and Enzo not getting a lot of Enzo being played in a 10, for example, as well. So all of these things is just to say that Poch made a lot of mistakes early, which have compounded, along with obviously injuries, players, form being bad, etc. I'm saying that he could have stopped a lot of these fights before they even happened.
Yeah, and I that's my thing. Even I do give some leeway. The injuries don't help, but he keeps playing people out of position constantly. Do you know what I mean? Or for a big chunk of this season, and that just doesn't help, even with the injuries. I mean, like you brought it up, Chilwell at left wing. Okay, it worked against Liverpool. It didn't work. And before anyone most but he dropped. Yeah, but he's only not playing Chilwell because he's injured. No, Chilwell got dropped before he got injured, which people constantly forget. But when he's had 3 left backs when they're fit, and he continuously plays Colwell, that's when I go, well, why can't one of them have a run of games? And then he started playing Cucurella, but he played Cucurella at right back, and it's like, or you move Disassi, or when you make in-game changes when we're trying to chase a game, I'm going to put Disassi at right back. Why? Why are you going to put Disassi at right back? For what? That game against Newcastle. That game against Newcastle, the League Cup. There's an image of Disassi on the right side by himself. There's no Newcastle player within 10 yards of him because they know he's not going to do anything. That's the thing. It's like I actually played the one thing with Gallagher is if you play him as a defensive 10, which is what he was, you're getting the best out of him. But then you move him back into the pivot, and it's like, what's going on here? The way you've done Ugo Chuk with the injuries, Ugo Chuk were out for 7 games, and then you bring him straight back in. It's like Badashile was weird. You brought him in for Blackburn. They didn't play any build-up minutes at all until you throw him in for 90 minutes against Newcastle. And then you're supposed to build up.
And there were players there you could have played again. Matos, from all accounts, had looked pretty good against Man City today. You could have at least given him a few minutes.
You're not building up. You're supposed to build up. Build up the minutes. People get injured. Players get re-injured a lot because they're thrown sometimes straight back in, and their body can't.
Yeah, not time to adjust.
You're supposed to build up the minutes. I think if you're going to start someone, take him off. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to start
Andrew, I think that you all three. The thing is, Couch agrees with what Paul was saying. I think it's just more like he was going with the perspective of you got to give him a bit of fairness because of the injuries, which I get.
Injuries, no problem, but when I see that,
I think
it's not. When I see stuff that's not linked to the injuries, then I'm like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. But I think what it is in business, in life, there's still a level, and it's still a standard you can work out. So just no matter if it rains or it snows, you still need to put 100% effort in. So for me, is Poch being optimal is his decision making? No. If you're being optimal with decision making, you wouldn't play Chilwell at left wing and expect results consistently. In the one-off game, yes. In the tactical tweak, yes. In a substitution to break down a game, yes. But in terms of overall, no. Playing Colwell at left back, it hasn't worked. Why are you persisting? Disassi at right back, the same issue. So yes, the question below is the injuries. Is the medical team okay? Is that an issue? Yes, it is an isolated issue, but Potts doesn't help it. And we get that. Well, Koch is saying that consistent lineups in our first team, we probably have James, Fofana, Baddy, Chilwell, maybe. And that's quite a solid back four, in my opinion, right? Enzo, Caicedo, Lavia. And then Nkunku, Palmer, Sterling. That's quite a good... That's a top 4, top 3 squad, in my opinion.
Yeah, it should be high where it is, yeah.
Injuries happen in a season.
Right.
And I get that some teams that are successful, like Forward said, that Liverpool that win the league or the top of the league have barely any injuries. But at the same time, they played today with reserve players with 0-0 and they still won the game.
And they
look
brought
at
on
Spurs.
kids with
Look at
30
Spurs.
minutes to go. They brought on kids.
Look at Spurs.
Crazy.
100%.
Look at Spurs.
By the way, Andrew, with an Arsenal first team, I don't care about their form. I'm just saying
that was first team. Yeah,
as a
it was,
fact
yeah,
about matter, right? I'm not saying whether they were good form or not. The point is, he was able to put in players, since what coach is saying, where you've trained them enough, so when people come into the team, they know what they're doing. Is Poch doing that? I don't think so. I think he's changing up too much. Carney got injured, Nkunku got injured, so now I've got to go to about 5. But I can't go back 5, so let me change this, keep it consistent, and people know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, look at Spurs. I mean, Spurs are. I mean, Ange has been in the same amount of time as Poch, and he's had probably even. And look at the squad size. His injury crisis has probably been worse than ours, if you think about it. I know they've had a few suspensions and stuff like that, but okay, so you're missing some players. What are you going to do? You know, and we would have had a consistent midfield. Papis and Basuma weren't playing with each other last season. That's now only come in this season. You've got Son. He's reinvented him. You got Kulusevski playing well. You got Porro now playing well at right back. Udogi's young and something like that, and they've got an untested goalkeeper who's playing well. But what I'm saying is that he's come in and he's stamped his authority and stamped his game plan on his team. And Poch is we're struggling to know what Poch is who's he gonna play at times. Do you know what I mean? What style we're gonna play and stuff like that. And they're both in the same amount of competition. It's okay. They went out in the League Cup earlier than us, but they're not in Europe. Do you know what I mean? So the injury crisis I can give some leeway and stuff, but like you said, we're not the only club that's had injuries. Do you know what I mean? It's how you
deal with it and
how you deal with them, right?
But and I think what you guys are missing with the context of what I was trying to deliver before was that when you're comparing like Chelsea, you know, playing youth players and Liverpool playing youth players in a cup game, there's a completely different thing there. Liverpool have a settled way of playing. That's a very important piece.
But we don't disagree with that. I think it's probably better to compare it to, let's say, a Tottenham. No, but we agree that you're right there.
If you agree with that, then you can't make that comparison.
But we're comparing it to, let's say, but compare it to like a Tottenham when Ange just came in this season. Same situation, same conditions as Poch, right? We're a bit more of a mess, cool, but the player one, you can't tell me that we're light ways away from them.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that point about.
I even say that you can't compare what.
Yeah, I'm not comparing to what
Chelsea. No, not Liverpool. No,
not Liverpool.
It wasn't saying that we could do the same thing they could do. I think the point I was trying to make was you've got to start a consistent pattern of football somewhere. You can't have putting people in the wrong position.
And it's not going to happen in 4 months a lot of the times.
Yeah, 100%. But obviously with Tottenham and Ange, right? And obviously I'm sure coach would agree that
already had it. Like what? How much changes does Tottenham have? Like we're talking about the entire team got ripped apart.
But they're still high up in the league couch. Why is that?
They've had a big change. They've had a massive change.
No, they definitely had change, but they definitely had a foundation. They definitely have goal scorers.
Yeah, but if you look at their foundation of 3 has been built on wing backs and defensive football. Gone back to a back 4 now.
Not attacking football.
A new goalkeeper, a new centre back partnership, a new left back. A guy who's playing right back who plays is really a right winger, right wing back. A new centre midfield partnership, a new number 10, and they lost Kane, their best striker, and didn't replace him. So the front three's changed because Son now plays more centrally than he has done previously. So it has been, and they've had all those injuries as well, more than us looking at their squad. So they've gone through a massive 180 in their whole philosophy. Because before it was Conte and Mourinho ball, and we know that was more defensive than it was attacking. So they've actually gone 180.
And they've also, in the recruiting, outlined like not 21-year-olds, but 25, 26, 27-year-olds, guys that have played professional football for a long time. So, like, again, like the context of these things is just so hard to like really, we can't really draw comparisons unless we have something that is close to comparable. Like they have a more veteran squad than we do. We have one of the youngest teams in the Prem, if not the youngest. And when you couple that with the amount of like injuries that we have, the fact that like it's a brand new squad, like every player it doesn't have the
we understand.
Am I wrong about that? Am I wrong about that?
You're not wrong about that, but I think you're not. You're being fair. Like your point is actually very critically correct. Like that's not a bad assessment. I think what we're trying to say is he could still do more despite those facts you just mentioned. Because I'll tell you why. We are in 10th. Which implies and which says on paper we're average. Is our squad average? No. So then I go, the injuries are bad, but is our squad big enough to deal with it? Yes. How are Tottenham, with players out, still managing to beat teams that we struggled against this season? with the same amount of time, by the way. He hasn't had more time than Poch. But the same amount of time, we've had more money spent, and he's had injuries also. He's
Yeah,
managed to still getting them consistent football. Why? What is
yeah,
that the
I mean,
point?
I think it has more to do with just like, again, like most of these players that we have in the squad right now that we're using, like pretty much day in day out, are guys that would be playing in under 23s right now. You know, like they're not at the professional level, ready to play, 90 minutes week in, week out. And we're depending on these guys to deliver. Granted, I agree with you in the most part, because what you're saying is that he's not been able to get the best out of the players that we have.
Optimization, yeah, 100, yeah.
Right. No, there's definitely been. I'm not telling you guys that like everything that has happened so far has been, to the book, and it's the way it's supposed to be. Like, no, we should have been winning some of these games. But when you're talking about what games, like there's a difference between 2 and 3 games that we probably should have been performing better in. And if we win those 2 or 3 games, where are we in the table? Right? It's not leagues away from where we should be, is what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying, Cash. I'm not sitting here saying we should have been in a top 4 race. I think at the start of the season I said 6th or 7th. I went 6th or 7th, maybe a cup, like League Cup or something like that.
So, you know what?
If we had 8 or 9 more points, I think we'd be going
100%.
all right. We're on a road.
Yeah.
We're on a track. We're on track.
Yeah.
We're on track to something. I think it's just because if we had a poll of the fan base, I think it's just because we're 10th. I think that's all it is at this moment in time. If we had more points or a bit higher up, like an 8th or a 7th at the moment, I think everyone would go, okay, yeah, I want to get higher, but I can see what we're doing and stuff like that. It's just,
I just don't think it's all down to Poch when you consider that there are games that we're in. I know, but there are games that we're in that if we finish our dinner and we have strikers that are clinical and stuff like that, we're not talking about these 8 or 9 points that we're talking about now. So it's not just down to like, okay, he's playing Colwell at left back, that's why we're not winning games. Where he's playing freaking Gallagher at the number 10. It's beyond that for me. Like I agree that those things don't help a lot of the time. Like you'd rather see somebody that's more, understands the position a little bit better. But it's not what I see as being the hindrance to what's happening this season. Like
I will
that's
say
the way
this,
I see it.
I will say this. What we are doing is scoring more this season, but we're conceding a lot more. And that's a problem, especially at set pieces. So that is something that he can and his team can improve.
Andrew, on that point, do you think that the Victor Osimhen deal, do you think that it would change a lot? So if what you're saying is true and Coach saying is true, where the finishing is kind of poor, and we could all agree, we finish with our chances a few of these games. Again, 6, 7 more points. We're not having this discussion in a negative way. We're taking it more, not positively, but a bit more like with optimism, right?
Right.
Do you think that Osimhen is like that player that we could go, yeah, if we grab him and the mentality of the whole club changes because we've got a top striker now, Poch has something to work towards. Do you think that's important for this January, or do you think we can get away with it till summer? What do you think?
So this is Chelsea history for me. I've been burned too many times with strikers coming in. I honestly have no idea. I have no idea how he's going to adapt if we buy him or how we're going to set up with him. I really don't. But I'm now going to bide my time, which I'll give him time, obviously. But I just don't know. I really don't know because if he comes in as a focal point, then how do we set up with the players behind him with someone like an Nkunku? Do you set him up as a 10 or set him up as a roaming wide man? Something like that. I just don't know. I've been like, for years, Chelsea fans, we just need that striker to finish off, and then we'll be up there like the Lukaku thing in the summer of 21. So all we need is just a striker. This squad's good enough to win it. Like I said, he'd be a welcome addition, but it wouldn't be the thing that solves everything because the way we leak goals and everything like that, he would need to do Haaland type of numbers to get us in a title race. Do you know what I mean? So it's,
what do you man think?
It's a good addition. Yeah.
I'll let Couch go first.
You hear what Andrew said, or do you think is necessary 100%?
Actually, I don't know if Couch is even here anymore. Maybe he's just sorting out his audio. But just for me, listen, I think a 9 is obviously like of high importance to this team. I can think of games off the top of my head like Wolves away, Aston Villa at home was a big one. Brentford, if you think of the first 30 minutes when Palmer was just running the show, right? These games are games where we're absolutely controlling, we're bossing. If we are clinical in the final third, the games are probably 1-2-0 up, and that changes the whole dynamic of a game. Again, goals, as the saying goes, goals change games. And again, these games will, yeah, it changes the season, it changes the momentum, and again, that can also then like have a rollover effect to the next week. Confidence is high, and obviously with a young team, that's important, right? So again, I make that point to say that again, a striker in these games massively improves our chances of getting points, of winning these games. And of course, we need a striker to go and do that. But at the same time, right, in this era of football, especially, right, like, there aren't that many like Ronaldinho, original Ronaldo. Like, I'm not even just talking about just about Gummy, but just those special kind of players where it's almost foolproof, right? Like where they can come into a club and they will 100% raise the level, and like you almost can't fail with them. We've seen in this era of football that even if you bring in top players, right, like not because most of them are not like super complete. You can fail if you don't work to their strength. And while obviously I wasn't a big fan of Werner coming in, right, and even Lukaku, even though he was like an experienced goal scorer, experienced prem proven as well, right, as people love to say, even he has his limitations. And I think with both of them, we didn't really play to their strengths. Again, both of them flopped because they also weren't good enough as well, in my opinion. But we didn't play to their strengths either. And if you bring in an Osimhen in, he's a very good striker. Again, being Nigerian as well, I've watched him for many years, and I can see that he's actually not as good as people think based on what you see around. Like the waste on the people like have discourse around him. Like they feel like he's this all-encompassing, complete nine, and he isn't fully complete. He can do a lot of things very, 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 very well, and he is kind of a battering ram type striker. A certainly more polished version of a Nunes that should suit well to the Premier League, but you still need to play to his strength. So if we bring him in, cool, that's great. But if we then bring him in to play against a low block, similar to like a Preston, but obviously Premier League level, if we do that, but then we play like we did in the first half where it's slow, and not only are we playing against a low block, but we actually create the low block ourselves by playing so slow in front of them. If we do that, we play with inverting fullbacks who then aren't getting wide to get crosses in. Sterling, who is driving and being positive, is driving 2v1 or 1v2 and not have an overlap around them to then create the space to get across into your £100 million striker, Osimhen. If we don't do that, then Osimhen obviously won't do as well as he should do here. So it does come down to us and how we actually build around him, because that's a project signing, not in the sense that he needs years to go and do what I'm talking about. That's a guy you build around. He's an institution in himself that if you build around a striker of that ability and that caliber, he should do well, but you have to build around him, and that's what we need to do.
Yeah. Forward is right, because yesterday even Couch put up our build-up play is so slow. We can't counter attack, but we don't. So we allow teams to get back in their places, and that's how low blocks created. If we actually started using the counter attack properly, because we've got the athletes and the pace to kill some teams on the transition, then Osimhen would probably do well. But if we don't, and then we're ending up like having to see Brogo drop so deep that he's in his own half, like in the first half against Preston, then it's not going to work, is it? So you can get him in fine, but you need to. It's different from but look at the old days of like having a Drogba or something like that. It's totally different now. Do you know what I mean? It's just you can't just simply slug a big man up there and just expect him to do something on his own, or have someone like Lampard around him. We're not built like that anymore. Football's changed.
No.
Do you know what I mean? You need to get the players around now. It's all about team now. Like,
can I just add one thing quickly as well?
We don't have a Hazard anymore to bail us out. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. I just want to say, add one thing quickly, is that we're actually in a better spot than we were like in around the Tuchel-ish time, when obviously we had Werner and Lukaku came in, because we were complaining about chance creation being a problem then. And I think even now we can still create more chances, but by your metrics, we rank quite highly for chance creation. So a striker if you can still press from the front like Nico has been doing and still create chances for others, in theory should do really well, because we create a lot more chances now.
I think the team is set up better now for a striker than for the past two or 3 years. I think it's better up with players like a Sterling, like a Palmer, like an Nkunku, hopefully, stuff like that. It's better set up than before, when it wasn't really like
Havertz, Mount.
Because
then you have Enzo who will pass forward compared to Kovacic, Jorginho, who will pass forward.
I think that.
Yeah, I gotta run, guys. I'm just gonna drop off, but I just wanted to say, as far as like the Osimhen thing goes, I just think that we need to be smart about the market right now.
Yeah,
I don't know if for what we're quoting right now, what is it, 120 million euro? He's not that kind of a player. He's just not that kind of a player for me right now. Right. I would rather. I love him in the air. I think he's incredible in the air, and he's exactly what we need that way, like attacking aerials and whatnot. And I'm sure I said this to Az before. I'm just thinking maybe until the striker that we absolutely need, like that fits the style of play that we're trying to play under Poch,
Yeah.
I think what we need to do is go striker committee. So you get attributes in each individual that so for instance, Jackson is terrible in the air, but he's very good at linking up and that sort of thing. Let's get somebody that has an aerial presence so that when we need that plan B to change the game, we bring this guy on, and this guy is the guy that's like attacking the aerial duels from the crosses and stuff like that, as opposed to trying to address every need in striker with a complete striker when there aren't any in the market right now. There just aren't. You guys feel me on that?
Yeah, I feel you.
Think,
Go on, Andrew.
I'd actually see when it comes to it. I'd actually think maybe Tony's a better fit than an Osimhen at this moment in time. Just the way I've seen the way his all-round game is with Brentford and the last 2 seasons. I know the problem is he's coming off an 8-month layoff. So are you going to get the best out of him until next season?
Yeah,
what are your plans? Here's a question. Here's a question for them. What do you want to do this season? Because if you want Osimhen, I don't believe Osimhen's coming.
And you touch on this one.
I don't.
On this,
yeah. Okay. So what do you want when it comes to signings? I don't think Osimhen's coming in January. I just don't think it. Even with the best bit would be maybe a pre-agreement or something like that. If Osimhen is in, the couch is right. If you're going with Poch and you believe in Poch, is Osimhen Poch's choice for striker? If he's trying to play that way, is he? I don't know. That's what I mean. I don't know what I don't know what Poch's game plan is when it comes. That's what I'm talking about. I don't know what it is because I've not seen it yet. But we shouldn't buy strikers just for the sake of it because they're popular. Do you know what I mean? Or because there's very rare few number 9s out.
Else was wasting another 100 million. Yeah.
In 2024, what do I expect? I expect to be higher in the league. Do you know what I mean? If we finish 6th or 7th this season, you get me 1 or 2 of the cups, then I think it's been a good season. A lot of improvement needs to happen in. But I expect now to see Poch. I expect by the end of the season to understand how Poch wants to play with this Chelsea team. Do you know what I mean? Because then it'll probably be best. Then we can look at players and go, okay, he might suit this team or he doesn't. At the moment, we're throwing darts at the board with players' pictures on it, and we're liking them, but are they actually going to fit this team? So it's a big
and
it's not much.
We can't be wasting, and they can't. They have the money, but the FFP and all that stuff to waste more money. I just think, you know what? Like Couch is saying, we need a striker. He's top of the pops right now. Go grab him.
Right.
That'll be all right. Because we don't know if that's going to work. It might do, it might not. If it doesn't work, we're in more trouble with a 7-year contract. And if it works, well done, 1 in 5. So let's not use this gamble approach. But I think that, for me, also we'll have our say quickly before we end the stream. Love everyone. Big up the 2 people that commented as well. Really appreciate that as well. Big up all 3 of you for jumping in as well. Big up. To end the stream, for me, I'll let you man finish. What do I expect in 2024? Consistency. Whether that be enough to get us top 6, top 4. I just want to see, I pray our injuries get better. And we have less than 10, less than 8, less than 7. We pray to God, of course. And I want to see consistency again. I haven't seen my club be consistent at anything literally for the last 3 years, other than Champions League run. I haven't really seen we've scraped, them top 4 a few times now. Do you not remember to get where we didn't even win our last game of the season? And because Tottenham lost, we made it. Come on. Yeah. We haven't seen consistency in years. So I want that back where if this model works, we can possibly get that where they buy the best players and keep flooding it and then it grows together. Hopefully with the growth, we get a bit of consistency. Enough to get, let's go for top 4 this season, top 6. Let's aim for top 4. If we don't get it, we don't get it. But I want top 4, top 5. And I don't think that's not achievable. And like you, man, said, if we were 7-8 points in front of what we are right now, this conversation would be very different.
Yeah.
Be very different. So for me, any level of consistency is key. And let's hopefully aim for top 4. If we don't get it, you land on the moon, innit? So
if it's top 4, I think he's overachieved. If it's top 4, if we get top 4, overachievement for this.
Especially
what do you think forward?
Well.
Yeah. Well, give me a quick 2024. Let's say this season, what do you expect?
I'm going to change the question because my expectations have not been met for a long time with this club, right? So I'm going to change it to what I demand, or even just what I want, right? And obviously, what I want is consistency. What I want is a clear style of play that, again, I can relate to you. I can like see, you know what, I get what it is meant to be, and it's also like working. And even if it's like, okay, we can lose the game, because I've seen Tottenham lose games. I'm like, you know what, I hate Tottenham, but I rate and you know what, even though it didn't work in this game or player quality let them down there, what the manager wanted to do in that game, it made sense. And you know what, it should have worked, and it will work long term, especially with better players. I want to see Poch give me that feeling with this club, because I know that this club will invest. I do expect that we actually will invest a lot more money, even in, if not this window, because January is always very difficult, but in the summer we will definitely invest. I will at least give the board that they are very ambitious.
Quick signings as well. Quick signings, very quick signings. Not like
100%. So again, I expect that. I just again want more consistency, want better football, and I want to just see our best players on the pitch. Like I just really want to see that. I want to see Reece James, Nkunku, Enzo on the pitch consistently, man. We need that. Again, if it's Badia Shield, I need him.
I demand the League Cup.
100%. And listen, our record against Liverpool of late has been pretty good. So performance-wise against Liverpool, we've always been very good.
It's going to be a draw, isn't it? It's a draw, so it's probably going to go to penalties like it has done.
By the way, I must add, we can't lose another final, by the way.
No, we can't. That's the thing. Like, we might as well just lose against Borough if we're going to lose another final, because we have to win that. We actually have to win that.
Arsenal, Leicester, Liverpool twice. Come on, man.
Last 3 FA Cup finals we've lost.
4 trophies in the last few years.
Which is a record as well.
Yeah. Last League, 2 League Cup finals. Even under Sarri, we lost.
We went from the kings of Wembley to like now we get there.
Wembley was our second
home. Find a way to bottle it.
Wembley was our second.
We're just bottling it. We're getting there. That's what I mean by the recruitment. We will touch on already. But yeah, go on, Andrew.
No, listen. I'm sorry. Even if it's Liverpool in the final, I demand the League Cup. Got there now, and you know what? I demand a run in the FA Cup. I want full strength teams in the FA Cup as well. You know what I mean? I think it's definitely. I think it's there. Listen, Man City are always going to be the favourites, and Liverpool are going to be favourites. But it's the luck of the draw, right? They might draw each other. Do you know what I mean? So let's take the opportunity. Let's go as far as we can in the FA Cup. I want all the drawings. I want lower league horrible teams. Not that no one rates. I'm not for this hero run of beating every good team. I want low level opposition and get through to the final and go as far as we can. But definitely the League Cup is a must. I think it's so important. It'll be so important for the players, this young group of players. It's important. It's important to Poch to get the thing off his back about not winning England. And I think it's important for this ownership as well. They need their spending needs to see results in. They might not think it, but for me, it needs to results in silverware.
100%. 100%. Even to that point as well, just quickly, like we saw what it did for Arteta, right? Who went with back-to-back 8th-place finishes, right? And again, the whole fan base, a large part of the fan base screaming for him to go on all of this, but like because of the FA Cup, he had enough credit in the bank where he could get through those horrible runs of forms. And with Poch, again, we're at a much better stage than Arsenal were even back then, spending more money. So really, you need something if you're going to be having us in 10th place mid-season. Like you need to win a cup. So again, one of these cups. If it isn't a League Cup, which again, I'm going to say that I expect to win that because we can't lose again at Wembley. It just can't happen. So if it's not that, then go win the FA Cup. Because one of those cups have to come back to the bridge. They have to.
Bro, like, I know we would end it, but I'm triggered by that. Like I mentioned that fact, bro. We can't lose another final. Like, you know how bad it would be for this squad to get there after all this chat and then they not do it. They kind of
let's not look past Borough in it. Again, this club is scarred us a lot. Let's not look past Borough in it. I'm not going to do that.
Going forward, I'm thinking about the narrative of losing. Poch, bottle job, Chelsea, bottle job, you're failing of a club, another final.
Let's think about this. If we get past Borough and Fulham do a madness against Liverpool, we'd have to win it then if we're going against Fulham in the final.
We have to win either way. It doesn't matter who we play in the final, bro.
No, but more pressure would be on to win it if it's Fulham. We'd have to win it if it gets. Definitely have to win it against Fulham. You know what I mean? We have to. But we're now in where we should be. We should aim to win it. Even like you say, even if Liverpool's there, I've no idea what Liverpool are going to look like, what their position is going to be in every competition and in the league. Come that if they get through, if we get through, come to that League Cup final because it's like late Feb, isn't it? It's late February.
Yeah.
Or something like
it's not too far away.
The Champions League starts again. The Europa League starts again. They might be further in the FA Cup. Who knows what they're going to be like in the title race and stuff like that. It's like, can they juggle all these at the same time? Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
and to be fair, just even on that point, they were better in in their season where they fought for the quadruple. They obviously didn't win the quadruple. God willing, they didn't. Thank God for that. But again, they were better in that season. We took them all the way in both games.
We were better in the final. We were better.
We were better.
In the finals.
Again, we have missed some huge chances in those games. So
that League Cup one, we should have beaten them.
Yeah. So this version of Liverpool, obviously, they are very good still, but we have a very good chance of beating them.
Yeah.
If we turn up on our best day, so we just have to do it. Oh God, we got to beat Borough first, but then after that, we got to beat Liverpool or whoever is in the final. Have to.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I think that draws the end of the stream. We just got to win the final. We just want to see. I think all three of us basically agree on most of the point. We want to see consistent lineups. We want to see us push for these positions because, man, then we're not that far away. As much as we're saying we have a poor system and Poch isn't doing the most, and we're not actually that far away. We win against Fulham, and a few of the teams play against each other. We're now in the pack. Straight just like that. 2 wins.
So Fulham would be 3 Prem wins in a row. It would be 3, 4 in a row.
Football's fire margins. All it takes is 3 wins out of a whole 38 games, and now you're in a better position to talk with the big boys again. Just like that.
It's a low points collection this season. Even City and Arsenal are off by like 13 points this season. I know Villa and Liverpool have improved, but everyone can beat anyone in this league. It's not. It's a fun league, but it's not like in terms of people are dominating. Do you know what I mean? So
it's not like we're far away from it and we can't catch up.
No, look at Newcastle. Newcastle are only a point ahead of us.
And they were talking about guaranteed top 4. I heard earlier in the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Top 5. And now people even think they're gonna make top 8, top 6.
Right.
So we'd have to change, Matt. But big up everyone joining the chat. Really appreciate every man coming on as well because it was my first stream. We will be more consistent on this channel. I know you, man, love to talk about Chelsea. So do I. We love our club. And yeah, man, it's been sick. It's been sick. So big up forward for coming on. Love, bro.
All love, bro.
And Andrew, as always, we always stream together anyway.
Anytime.
Big up everyone in the chat. Always subscribe. If you're watching the playback, leave a comment what you think of the show. Subscribe to the channel. And yeah, we're out, man, in a bit.
Take it easy.